Hey there, I'm Marissa. In the last episode, we talked about what nitrox is, the importance of the MOD, the partial pressure of oxygen, and the blend of oxygen in your tank. We also talked about the benefits of using enriched air and the safety concerns with it. If you haven't seen that episode yet, there's going to be a link in the description below so you can see it after this video. Today, we're going to go over the formulas to figure out your MOD, your partial pressure of oxygen, and the specific blend of oxygen that you're looking for your tank at a certain depth. The math isn't too hard, and I'm going to do some examples for you, so be sure to stay with me. If you dive nitrox, knowing these numbers isn't just helpful, it's essential for safety. Let's dive on in. Just a quick recap. You'll remember that your MOD is your maximum operating depth, and this is the maximum depth that you're allowed to go with that specific percentage of oxygen that's in your tank. The oxygen partial pressure is the amount of oxygen pressure that's in your tank, and this is based off of the percentage of oxygen and the depth. This is going to determine how much oxygen that your body is absorbing while you're diving, and it also helps avoid central nervous system toxicity. A partial pressure of 1.4 ATA is going to be the maximum exposure limit for a planned dive. This is going to give you a safe buffer against oxygen toxicity. 1.6 ATA is considered the absolute contingency limit, and this is only used for very short periods of time or emergencies. For the sake of this video, we're going to stick with 1.4 ATA, which is the metric you really don't want to exceed. There is a simple way to calculate these numbers, and it's by using Dalton's triangle. This is Dalton's triangle, and it was created by John Dalton in the early 1800s when he created Dalton's law. At the very top, you have PO2, which is your oxygen partial pressure, and this is not to exceed 1.4 ATA. The bottom left, where it says P, is going to be your ambient pressure, and this is going to be your depth. And FO2 is going to be your fraction of oxygen, which is basically your percentage of oxygen in your tank in decimal form. So if you have 32% oxygen, it's going to be a value of 0.32. If you have 36%, it's going to be a value of 0.36, and so on. So what does all this mean as a diver? And how can we plan a dive using this specific triangle? The cool thing about math, and especially equations, if you have certain parts of the equation, you can always figure out the rest. So if you have any two parts of these, you can figure out the third value by using either multiplication or division. The first formula that we're going to go over is calculating your MOD, or your maximum operating depth. For this example, we're going to use 32% oxygen. And 0.32 is going to be the value that we use for our FO2 here. So the formula for P, because that's going to be our depth, is going to be PO2 divided by FO2. Actually, I have to put this in parentheses because we're going to subtract 1, and we're going to multiply the whole thing at the end by 33, which is going to be the depth. Why are we subtracting the 1? We're subtracting the 1 because of how we calculate depth from pressure. We only want the pressure of the water and not the 1 atmosphere that's on the surface. So we're going to subtract that 1 atmosphere from the surface just to get our actual depth. Now, when we calculate pressure from depth, we're actually adding that 1 back in, and I'll show you that in a few minutes. Now we know our PO2 because that's our oxygen partial pressure, and we do not want to exceed 1.4. And I'm a fan of showing all my work and all the steps, so I don't know if you do that at home or it's how I do it, so that's how I'm going to do it on the board here. So we're going to do 1.4 divided by, and our FO2 is our 0.32 because that's the blend we're using, minus 1 times 33. So 1.4 divided by 0.32 is going to be 4.375, and minus 1 times 33, 3.375 times 33, and this is going to give us 111.375. So our MOD is going to be 111 feet. Now, if you're doing this in meters, instead of the 33, you would multiply by 10. If you want to be conservative on your diving, you can always use the 33. It's just going to be a little bit more conservative than 34 if you were using for fresh water, which is going to give you a few more feet with each calculation, but To be on the safe side, if you wanted, you can always use 33. So next, we're going to calculate our oxygen partial pressure. And this time we'll use an example of 35% oxygen. Which is going to be 0.35 for the FO2 value. For example, if you wanted to dive, say 97 feet, and you wanted to use 35% oxygen, is that a good enough blend, or is that a safe blend where you're not going to exceed 1.4 ATA? Let's figure it out. So now we have these two values. This is going to be 97 feet. This is 0.35. And we're looking for our partial pressure of oxygen. So PO2 equals P times FO2. Our depth right here, 97, is in feet. We need it to be converted to atmospheric pressure, ambient pressure. To do that, you're going to take the feet, I'll do it over here, 97 divided by 33 plus 1. And this is where we add in the plus 1 here. So 97 divided by 33 is 2.9 plus 1 is going to be 3.9 ATA. So we'll round that up to 4. So 4 atmospheres at 97 feet. Now we can plug this into the equation. 4 times 0.35, and that's going to give us an oxygen partial pressure of 1.4. Now, this is our maximum, right? It would be safe to say that 35% oxygen is a safe blend to dive at 97 feet. Most likely, this is also your MOD or very, very close to it as well. Now, I want to show you an example just so you guys can see it of the oxygen partial pressure being over 1.4. So we're going to use 35% oxygen again, but this time we're going to dive down to a depth of 115 feet. Our PO2 equals our pressure multiplied by our oxygen. And again, this is in feet, so we have to convert it. So 115 feet divided by 33. This is going to be 3.4 plus 1. So 4.4 ATA. And we're going to plug this into the equation. We have 4.4 multiplied by 0.35. Now what does that give us? That's going to give us a partial pressure of 1.54. This is not a safe blend to use at 115 feet because you are well over the 1.4 maximum. So this would be a no-go. Don't do it. A big no-no, okay? Bad news bears. So we'll do one more example. And then we'll move on to figuring out what percentage of oxygen is good for the depth you want to go to. For this example, we'll go down 90 feet using 36% oxygen. So 36 is going to be an FO2 of 0.36. I like to write it all out, have all my information on there that I need. So we're going to find our PO2 again. So our PO2 is going to equal our P multiplied by our FO2. And we're going to go down, 90 feet? 90 feet. Divided by 33, because we have to convert that into atmospheres, right? So that's going to equal 2.7 plus 1 is going to equal 3.7 ATA. So we can plug this into the equation now. So we're going to do 3.7 multiplied by 0.36. And that's going to give you 1.33 for your oxygen partial pressure. Is this a safe blend to use diving at 90 feet? Yes, it is, because it's not surpassing the 1.4 and you're within safe limits. So you would be able to use 36% oxygen at 90 feet. The next one we're going to do is calculate the best or correct mix for our dive. So we're going to figure out the FO2 based on 1.4 and whatever depth we want to go to. Say we want to go down to 95 feet, and we're going to use our partial pressure of 1.4 because that's the safe limit. So we're going to do FO2 equals PO2 divided by P, which is going to be the pressure or the depth. And then we'll be able to plug in the values. So our PO2 is going to be 1.4 divided by, now we said we were going to go down 95 feet. Again, we have to convert, so 95 feet divided by 33, and then we're going to add 1 to it. So that's going to give us 3.8 ATA. So 3.8 here, which is going to give us 0.36. So this converted into percent form is going to be 36%. So this is the blend of gas you'd want to use if you're going down 95 feet. I will do another example. For this example, we're going down to a shipwreck. One of my favorite things to see. And this maximum depth on this wreck is 113 feet. So 113 feet divided by 33 plus 1, because this is where we are converting the feet again into ambient pressure. And 113 divided by 33 plus 1 is going to give you 4.4 ATA. So a little over 4 atmospheres. Now we can plug it into the equation because again, our oxygen partial pressure is not to exceed 1.4. So 1.4 divided by 4.4. This is going to give you 0.31. Converting that into a percentage, it's going to be 31%. So if you're diving your wreck and you're like, what blend can I use? If you want to figure this out, it's going to be 31% with a maximum 113 feet for that wreck. Divers use these calculations for safety, mainly to avoid oxygen toxicity. They want to plan their depth and their limits. They also want to know what their gas choice is going to be. It also gives you awareness where you're more confident and you're just kind of in the know of what exactly you're diving on and what's in your tank. So these aren't just numbers. They're your boundaries for safe explorations to see our beautiful underwater world. Now, each dive shop that has Nitrox there, they are going to have tables and charts that will give you your MOD and associated to what gas blend that you have. It's always nice to be able to do the formulas for yourself as well. You always want to know exactly what you need in your tank, and this will help you figure that out. And as always, please double check your tank with an air analyzer just to make sure that you're getting the correct blend that you're supposed to for your dive.
Here are the Nitrox formulas written out here if you wanted to copy them down or practice them. And at the bottom I have the conversion for the depth to atmospheric pressure.
If this video was helpful, please share, like, and subscribe. Pass this along if anyone needs a refresher. It's always good to refresh your skills on this information to ensure safe dives for everyone. And I'll see you next time, guys. Bye.